Now, you had help with learning how to do that because you were smart enough to get the internet involved and the people in the community of the internet to ask questions with things that you were having little tricks with or trouble with. Or could you explain how people are helpful when you kind of put it out there in the internet?
Yeah, I think what happened is in doing a lot of research on the internet, like, for instance, how do you actually create potato chips? What is the process to, what are the best methods to use? What are the best oils to use? How do you infuse the potato chips with flavor? All those sorts of things. I started going out onto the internet and looking, and I was amazed at how helpful people are. For instance, I was trying to infuse the oil that I fry with. I ran upon an academic paper that somebody had written about infusing oil in frying. Who would know that somebody does that for a living? But the actual on the report was the woman's email and phone number. I called her up, she answered, and talked to me for over an hour about how to do it. Was very excited about it, and and her suggestions were great. And that's happened a few different times in this hurdling process.
Now, do you think that it's the extreme pointed focus on what it is your goal is? You sketch it out, you know exactly what you want, you set your mind on doing it, and then all of a sudden people start dropping in your path while you're on your journey that are just exactly who you need to talk to. Do you think that's because you're focused and you have a belief in it, or why do these people come forth when you need them?
I think it is. I think it's if you have that positive energy, people really want to help you. And I think it also goes to, if you're a nice person and people kind of gravitate toward you and you have an interesting idea. And for instance, this woman, she's in academia, so to hear somebody selling chips in a park and trying to help that out, I think she kind of gets a little bit of an ancillary buzz or tangential buzz from being a part of it for an hour.
And then somewhere along, I can just imagine someone writing this paper going, I hope somebody's going to really need this somewhere. I know somebody needs it. And then out of the blue you call, and that's exactly the information.
Right. For them, it's probably validating that the work that they're doing is being put to use somewhere. And that, like I said, that's happened a number of different times. And it's one of those interesting things. I think that every time I go out and I am out there with the chips and talking about them and everything, there always just happens to be somebody who comes along and is very, very helpful with whatever I might need.
That's just amazing.
I think it's also it's being honest about what the challenges are that you're encountering. So people are, when they see that honesty, I think that they're very, very open to helping out.
Okay. Now there are some I don't want to call them difficulties, I'd say more challenges to owning your own business and running your own business. What are some that people are going to have to face if they really do want to have their own business, as far as how much time to put in, or what are some of the challenges?
It's I think the big one is time, right? It's and being realistic. Is this something that I really want to spend 24/7 doing for a couple years potentially? And is it something I truly believe in? And do I really believe in myself to be able to do that? Am I going to get to a point where you have such a lack of confidence that it stalls out?
And I'd imagine that now your fiance is very excited about this too, and
Right.
backing, saying you have all this energy and it's wonderful. She's very sweet in the other room. And you must have to have your significant other into it too, otherwise it could be a real drag.
Yes. Well, I fortunately for me, as you mentioned, I don't have that drag situation. So yes, I would think that not having a support network would be very, very difficult. I think that one thing that's been very interesting here in San Francisco is that there is a community of other like-minded individuals who are coming out and creating very interesting food products right now. For instance, a friend of mine makes what are called gobs they're in essence they're like whoopie pies, but they're incredibly delicious. And yeah, they're so good. And just that community of people that are all out there kind of all trying to do the same thing, and that co-opetition, if you will.
I like that.
Right. You're competing a little bit, but you're also cooperating and helping at the same point. So
now I'm really surprised about Dolores Park, and if you haven't been to Dolores Park lately, man, every weekend is jam-packed with people, and people are now bringing the little tiny, little boxes with them, walking around the park selling homemade food.
Right.
Most of the time they don't have marijuana. Sometimes they potatoes, so be careful. You have to ask if they're loaded or not. But
I get that question all the time.
Have you ever loaded your potato chips?
No, I have not.
Okay. That would be the sequel. That's true. But, they're creative. Now, do you think a lot of these are come forth because people have been laid off and they're like, wait a minute, I can bake, I should be out there making some money? Is that how some of them have started?
Yeah, I think that's actually the predominant way it's happened.
Wow. Okay.
I am very honest. I was ignorant with just how large that community was when I went to Dolores Park and tried it myself for the first time. I had no idea that there really was this subculture of people doing exactly what you're talking about, cooking in their house and going out there, generally because for economic reasons.
That's pretty amazing, and that is bringing it back to grassroots and just trying whatever you can to make a buck. And I think there was this one on NPR that was talking about two guys that got laid off and started a kettle corn cart, and they're making more money than they did at the .com business that they were on. So and then it's a totally different lifestyle.
I think that is part of it. It is a different lifestyle. It's not like as you said. It's not the 9 to 5. It's not working for somebody else and then going home and kind of leaving your job behind. You really. As an entrepreneur, I think you really end up living it, and it is hard to sometimes divest yourself from the company, if you will, and the product.
That from what's known to what's unknown,
right?
And that's really who makes the millionaires there. What if and going beyond. Now we were discussing a little bit about time equaling success, in that like you were saying that everybody has the same 24 hours. So how come some people can be multimillionaires with that, and some people are just barely getting by?
Right.
So,
I don't want to besmirch people that are just barely getting by, right? But I do think that everyone does have 24 hours a day, and it is what you do with it. Whether it's business related, or whether it's cultural, or whether it's rounding out yourself, like taking piano lessons, or Italian lessons, or traveling the world, whatever for you, for instance. So I think it is what you have to kind of make your own goals and decide what you want to do and how you want to be, and kind of envision that. And for me, it is being an entrepreneur. That's what I've known I was going to be, since I was eating dinner with my parents.
When you were a kid, did you have like the lemonade stand, and did you have all that, or did you create some kind of strange thing to sell when you were really young?
I had a lawn mowing business when I was really, really young, from a very young age, and I remember I was probably in like 5th or 6th grade, and I had a whole bunch of lawns, and I made $20 a week back in the 70s, which was that was when gas was like 25 cents a gallon, and so that was actually a lot of money, and I just remember thinking like, this is great.
Now, did you have the lawn mowing business where you had people that worked for you, so you received the cash and then you gave them an amount that they were paid for rowing them on? I can't even say it anymore. My mouth is full of potato chips. Mowing the lawns for you, or did you do all the work yourself?
I did all the work myself.
Oh, okay.
I never got to the point of outsourcing.
That would be great with 6th graders. Very nice. So now we were talking about a couple different things. One of them is being very focused on what you want to do, because a lot of people say, well, I don't really know what I want to do. I kind of like this and I kind of like that, and I don't know if you agree with me, but if you like so many different things, you never get anywhere until you really focus in on one thing. And we were talking about the RAS system, which is the reticular activating system, little tiny spotted pea size in the back of your brain here, that once you really focus on something, such as I want a Mini Cooper, I want a blue Mini Cooper, all of a sudden all next week you see every single blue Mini Cooper, that it just kind of draws your attention. So explain to me how, when you have an idea, you focus it in and make it really specific.
Well, I think that's probably a challenge of mine, actually. I have so many varied interests, and that it is difficult for me to focus on one. But once I do, I get so excited about it. I think that's what happens, is that it draws people, and it creates that energy. And I do agree with you. I think that when you become singularly focused like that, when you set yourself a goal or you think about something, it does. If you're, I think, just subconsciously, your mind almost generates that to happen.
It's almost like you're programming your mind.
Right. I completely agree that that's how it works.